sa du?
Alltså, alltså jag tror att han gjorde uppstack.
Nej, men alltså han flög när han faktiskt dog.
Att han är en grappling hook.
Nej, han flög. Han flög. Ett snett av skenet. Nu ska jag också ta en...
Alltså du är så dålig.
Jag? Jag vet, jag dog.
Jag sa så här, pöla hit. Och du bara, vem bryr sig, jag dör.
Ja, men jag gjorde det.
Haha,
Pearl funkar
jättekul.
inte.
Ursäkter.
Kan man alltså... köra det hem? Replay med det. Jag orkar inte.
Här. Då går vi ut då. Har du pearls? Kom då. Jag är ute.
Ja.
Om du letar efter en sån här firesak så tog jag en. Läs ut en invis. Ta en invis. Nej, men du är inte så seg. Alltså varför skriver du hela tiden? Du vet, och han kommer verkligen så här komma in.
Vad ska jag ta? Ska jag köra själv och quittroppa?
Eller större som jag ser 2 sekund. Oh shoot. Kom då! Är det så dålig? Legit alltså. Det är 2 noobs som knappt vet hur man slåss. Kör! Du är en badit som 3. Oh shoot. Pöla då! Pöla! Du kommer dö!
Du är en?
Ja. Förlåt. Du lämnar seriöst dörrarna öppen så alla kan invis. Kom in, invis. Jag behöver pearls. Jag behöver pearls och du behöver öppna alla för att komma in. Det är skönt med fjäll.
Jag glömde det här.
Aha, okej. Gud, nu måste jag stänga, så nu behöver jag stänga alla. Sen behöver jag stänga de här. Boom, och sen boom, och sen boom. Och sen är det klart. Hur är det? Läs, det som är bakom. Läs. Kör. Kör på den.
Jag besökte. ingen för evighet.
I all lilla evighet.
Hur mycket potions har du?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. F potion. Oj. F potion. Ajt. Nu ska vi gå till de här snubbarna som var raidable. Oh my gosh, vad sa jag? 50 000 saker. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Sista. Åh, så bra saker.
Vilka är det?
Va? De här. Jag ska hoppa ner. Ska vi? Där chilla. Jag prefererar det. Vänta, det är glas. Där nere, de har sagt glas.
Nej, det har vi inte.
Gjorde han?
Nej.
Man ser ju det.
De har inte det. Jag har textipack där man ser.
Okej, hoppa ner.
Köpa ner.
Och säg om kusten är klar. Nej, men du får ju ha... Kör. Jäklar, där är det snubbar. Okej, kör. Det där räcker. Jag kommer inte bara fullt. Okej, nej. Kan jag hoppa ner?
Vänta. Det är typ inget. Det är ingenting,
Okej.
det är ingenting.
Ska vi F-söka eller F-om? Så F-om.
Den trapp. Kom igen, upp. Jag ser. Jag kommer upp snabbt igen.
Let's kom. De här som är också ready.
Vilka?
De här, kom. F666 squad. 666 squad. Här. Det är som 40 minuter. Hoppa ner. Gå. Ja, hoppa ner. Kör.
Här.
Ja, kör. Finns det något?
Nej. Det är ingenting. Typ ingenting.
Finns det upside? Finns det upside? Svara. Anropar. Finns det upside?
Jag ska kolla. Nej.
Okej, anropar. Okej. Ja, de har invis. Och Ficeword.
Är jag död?
Nej, såklart inte. Eller kanske.
Jag vet inte om jag tar det.
Oh shoot, nej 2. Du kan ta det som ett kanske, de slår mig hela tiden. Du kanske kan ta det som ett ja. De har sharpness 3.
Jag blockar upp.
Fick du saker? Alla mina?
Ja, inte dina.
Vadå så du fick ju?
Kilmar. Här.
Du har inte för att bli ready.
Jag kommer där. F1. Sen jag kommer där.
Jag kommer bli ready.
Nej.
Jo.
Kan här.
Bring hem!
Han har strange too. From his guard.
Spring hem!
But I can't. Looking up.
Spring hem!
Okay, bro. Okay. Yes, strange dude. GG.
Varför springer inte hem?
Därför jag var nere i basen.
I vår?
Nej,
Vart?
inte ens basen.
Doms? Varför går du in i doms? Är du helt dum i huvudet?
Readable. Dem.
Följa upp dem, gud. Hoppa inte ner här. Om du dör så blir du raidable. Jag är seriöst, du är inte rolig.
Hey guys. It's me. Guys, okay. Så gärna fett. timers. På riktigt, vad de timmar? Jäklar, kör på. Yes! Oh my god, jag dödade honom. Oh my god, I got it. So you're not in the dead lands?
Okej. Vad är det där?
Det ska vara timmar som inte precision. Det är sharpness 50. Och bara för mig. Alltså på riktigt hela tiden. Bara för mig.
Vänta.
Det är inte i PV. teama mig. Kom där lilla fiskmås. Så dödade han. Oh my god. Jäklar vad grejer. Skojar du? Jag råkar tillbaka i jumpen. Som är du tur istället. Som har du?
Ja.
Hur istället?
Va?
Har du tur istället?
Ja, nej. Fast jag ska. Oh shit, just det. Tja.
Tja.
created a product that is of our original founding design. An aluminium body and formed sheet of glass describe a singular shape, one made with very few, very precisely engineered parts. Our obsession remains to continuously simplify and improve. From sculpting the camera housing directly out of the aluminium body to embedding the antenna within the enclosure, essentially making it disappear. Each refinement serves to bring absolute unity and efficiency to the design. Interrupted form, we've developed a whole new process to
Jag
achieve
visste
a
inte
high gloss
vad
black
du sa
finish.
något, så jag bara klickade på den random. Och det
This
var
Vadå för något?
begins with
jag
rotational
visste inte
3D
vad en
polishing.
huvudstad var. Så
A
jag
specialized
bara klickade på
compound
den random.
flows over the intricate geometries of the
Ja, exakt.
composite, removing imperfections, establishing a seamlessness between materials, and producing a pristine mirror-like surface. The enclosure then goes through an anodization process which creates a protective oxide layer. A single component dye is absorbed through a capillary
I
effect
take
to
that
ensure
one
maximum saturation while
for
actually
sure.
becoming part of the surface itself.
Right.
Finally, a magnetized ultrafine iron particle bath is used to polish the anodized layer to a superior high shine. When complete, iPhone 7 is the most singular, the most evolved representation of this design.
Every time you call on me, I drop what I do. You are my best friend and we've got some things to do.
Our intention has been to create an iPhone that is much taller. We don't want to just make a new phone. We want to make a much taller phone. iPhone 25 is the result of this approach. It's been completely redesigned. Never before have we built a product with this tall display, and for the first time ever, you have to use it with two hands. It's impossible to use it with one hand. To create the new iPhone, we began with a design that we really loved, but to build it, to implement it, we had to look way beyond what we knew to be possible. It took all of our learning, our best thinking, to increase the size of the display. The iPhone X described our vision for the future of the smartphone. Today, we're extending that vision with significant advances across 3 entirely new products: iPhone XS, iPhone XS Max, and iPhone XR. iPhone XS is completely uncompromising. The expansive Super Retina display with OLED delivers vivid brightness, true blacks, and high dynamic range content. iPhone XS Max has the largest display ever on an iPhone. Custom-developed stainless steel is precisely machined to create structural bands in 3 finishes, including new gold. With even better water and dust resistance, this structure is integrated with the most durable glass ever developed for a smartphone. Face ID, enabled by the True Depth camera system, reinvents the way to securely unlock, log in, and pay with only a glance. Now it's even faster. The A12 Bionic chip is the smartest and most powerful chip ever in a smartphone. Its next-generation neural engine dedicates machine learning to everything from augmented reality to photography. With a more advanced dual camera system and neural engine, iPhone is again taking us to a new era of photography, where even more capable sensors are combined with lenses, chips, and advanced software delivering smart HDR across your photos, creating images like never before. Portrait mode on both the back camera and front True Depth camera now features more nuanced, software-enhanced, adjustable depth of field. 4K video with better low light performance and extended dynamic range now records in stereo, and your content plays back in widened stereo sound. iPhone XR integrates the same breakthrough technologies. It's powered by the same A12 Bionic chip, has the same versatile True Depth camera with the same advanced Face ID. An entirely new range of finishes are enabled by precision-machined structural aluminium bands, anodized to complement an all-glass enclosure. The all-screen liquid retina display is the most advanced LCD in a smartphone and the most color accurate in the industry. A new backlight design allows the display to extend into the radiused corners, enabling a larger LCD than ever before. The advanced single camera system, combined with machine learning, allows iPhone XR to recognize people, map subjects, and add depth. The depth of field is adjustable, so you can take more dramatic portraits. Our utterly uncompromised vision for the future, iPhone XS and iPhone XS Max, and with a range of new finishes offering more choice to more people, iPhone XR.
är.
Hands-on with some of the top iPhone XR features. Check it out. How's it going, guys? Jeff Benjamin with 9 to 5 Mac. We are looking right now at the iPhone XR. This is a very highly anticipated release for Apple. It is not the top of the line iPhone. That claim goes to the iPhone XS and XS Max. However, it should easily be the more popular iPhone in my opinion because of what it offers for the price. When it comes to pure value, this phone is definitely a better buy than the iPhone XS. And in some respects, this phone is actually better than the iPhone XS, which is hard to believe, but yeah, it is true. We'll discuss that in a little bit. So inside the box, you get your typical iPhone stuff, the phone, of course. You get some documentation. You get this little guy right here, your 5-watt adapter, which is going to charge your phone super slow, but it gets the job done. And yeah, they're still packing that in there, even though the phone is capable of fast charging. You also get a pair of earpods, which connect to your iPhone using a lightning connection. Of course, no 3.5mm headphone jack and no dongle in the box either to connect legacy headphones, so keep that in mind. You also have your lightning cable, which can connect to your power adapter or connect to your Mac if you want to sync with your Mac. Okay, we've checked out the hardware. Let's briefly look at some of the documentation. Of course, you get your welcome little materials there, which kind of introduce you to how to use your phone, which actually can be pretty useful this time around, especially if you're upgrading from an iPhone 8, iPhone 7, one of the phones with a physical home button. That documentation might indeed learn you something. You also have a SIM eject tool, some regulatory information, and of course what we've been waiting on. Wait for it. Yes, indeed, the Apple stickers. There we go. My job's done here. But seriously, let's talk price. Let's compare it to the iPhone XS, which starts at $1,000 and goes all the way up to $1,350 for 512 gigabytes of storage. Now compare that to the iPhone XR. None of the configurations go over $1,000, and you can get in the game for just $750, which is still a lot of money. I mean, let's be honest here, that's still a lot of $50, which is still a lot of money. I mean, let's be honest here, that's still a lot of money, but it's not $1,000. Here's what's really cool though. You can upgrade, double your storage to 128 gigabytes for just $50 more. Now, when you hear 6.1-inch display, you might think, wow, that's pretty big, but actually, side by side with the iPhone X or iPhone XS, it really doesn't look much bigger at all, even though it is physically bigger. And even though 6.1 inches for a phone sounds like a lot, really it isn't when compared to the iPhone X, and especially when compared to the iPhone XS Max, which is absolutely mammoth compared to the iPhone XR, as you can see right here. But what really stands out about the iPhone XR to me is that Apple isn't asking customers to make a bunch of compromises. No, most of the features that you find with the flagship phones, including the brand new A12 Bionic processor, are included with the iPhone XR. Now, the XR does have 3 gigabytes of RAM, just like the 10, the XS Max, and the XS have 4 gigabytes of RAM, so that is a difference there. But when you run the Geekbench benchmarks for the CPU, you're going to notice that the it is the XR. Run the Geekbench gigabytes of RAM, just like the 10, the XS Max, and the XS have 4 gigabytes of RAM, so that is a difference there. But when you run the Geekbench benchmarks for the CPU, you're gonna notice that the XR ain't no slouch, as you can see right there. It is actually performing a little bit better than the XS Max, as you can see.
Så. Det är iPhone XR.
Ja.
Du vet vad iPhone XR är?
Mhm.
Den jag ska ha. Den är... den är bättre än iPhone XS Max. Ja.
Excellent bang for the buck.
Vänta.
Ain't no slouch. As you
Här. Du kanske kan höra. Här.
can see right there, it is actually performing a little bit better than the 10s Max, as you can see. Excellent bang for the buck. And it doesn't stop there. You get the same enhanced
Han har 35 000 likes och 476 000 prenumeranter.
wide-angle camera with that larger sensor, the same one you find on the 10s and 10s Max. And as we previously explained, because Apple kept the amount of megapixels the same, it means larger pixels, which can in turn gather more light, which results in better low-light performance. This camera is really good. Let me test it out for you. Let me show you what I mean here. So I have a setup here in low-light conditions. Here's my iPhone 10. Take the same photo with the 10R, almost said 10S. And once we zoom in, the difference is apparent immediately. Much more grainy results from the iPhone 10 when compared to the 10R. And like the 10S and 10S Max, you get the same true depth front-facing camera that's been upgraded to support 60 frames per second 1080p.
Vad sa du?
Det har den inte.
Vad är det för något?
Bättre kamera.
Vad är det för något?
Bättre kamera.
Vilken bättre kamera?
XS Max är mycket.
Ja, men alltså iPhone XS har sämre kamera än iPhone XR.
Just det, klart.
Video capture right there from the front-facing camera. Whoever thought we'd see something like that? 1080p, 60 frames per second, front-facing camera. Downright amazing. And it's here on the so-called budget iPhone. And because this is a legitimate true depth camera with all the bells and whistles right there in that sensor housing area, you get things like Animoji. So for the first time, budget users, and I use the term budget lightly because $750 is not budget in my opinion, but budget users now have access to Animoji. So it should be a lot more pervasive now that more people can gain access to it. And Memoji, of course, is there as well, a new feature for iOS 12, allowing you to create your own custom Animoji. And even though the 10R lacks the dual camera setup with that extra telephoto lens, you can still use portrait mode. Now granted, it only works with people unlike the dual camera portrait mode, but it's still really impressive. You get a wide angle view and you get better low light performance because it's using that wide angle lens. And you have the ability to adjust depth of field in post for portrait mode photos. You can go from f16 to f1.4 and adjust background blur in post. Now, one of the things I raved about in my iPhone XS features video was Smart HDR, and it's super impressive, and it's just as impressive here on the 10R. Skipping all the technical jargon, it just means your photos are going to look better when there's extremely light or extremely dark elements in those photos. Your just as impressive video was post. HDR, and it's about in my iPhone XS features video was Smart HDR, and it's super impressive, and it's just as impressive here on the 10R. Skipping all the technical jargon.
Vad sa du?
iPhone XS Max är den bästa.
Nej, iPhone XR.
It just means your photos are going to look better when there's extremely light or extremely dark elements
Alltså
in those
iPhone
photos.
XS Max
Thanks to the multiple
kostar
microphones on the 10R, you can record
15
sound in stereo when you're
786.
recording videos. And you can play it back on your iPhone directly since it has stereo speakers, or export it.
Och den billigaste kostar 10 990.
Hopefully you can hear that left
iPhone
and right
XR
sound
kostar
separation.
typ 8000 så. iPhone XS Max kostar
And like
lite
the
mer.
10S, when shooting 30 frames
Nej,
per
vänta,
second
den
videos in
billigaste-
low light, it can automatically lower the frame
den
rate
billigaste
to
var
help out
12
in
000.
less than ideal lighting conditions. Face ID is available
Och
on
en
the
iPhone
iPhone
XS
10R,
kostar 10 000.
which is great.
Eller
It
11
allows
000.
you to unlock your phone with your face.
Så jag trodde
Easy
jag
to
sett
set
lite
up.
fel.
Let me show you how easy it is. So
Så här, iPhone XS
all you do, look at the screen
är sämre än iPhone
and
X.
kind of twirl your head around like that.
iPhone XR är
Once all
den
the green bars are full, just tap on continue
alla
and do it
modeller.
one more time. Just
Eller
rotate
iPhone
your
X är
head,
den sämsta. iPhone XR är den näst sämsta.
and we're done. Super simple, super easy.
Så
Keep in mind that Face ID up until now has been exclusive to the high-end iPhone. It's a welcome addition.
fast jag ska nu köpa en iPhone XR. Sen med
Edition. The most
iPhone
obvious
X.
difference between the 10R and the 10S
Vänta, iPhone XR.
Vänta, 128 gigabyte svart. Exakt den här ska man köpa. Exakt den här. Typ bara 1000% exakt den här.
Bara för något.
Kolla Discord, exakt den här.
When the
Kolla,
iPhone
där.
10R came out, I made the
Stick
switch
to
from
them.
the iPhone XS Max, thinking the camera would be just as good for those who want to
So
save some
ex-
cash, but I was wrong. After spending a month with the
Exakt en svart, 128 gigabyte är bästa. Så jag tänkte såhär, mellan 64 och 228 tänkte jag. Så, 128. Du får inte ha den här exakt.
iPhone XR's camera, here's why I
Du
switched
måste
back
få
to the
ta en
iPhone
annan färg
XS.
eller en annan
The iPhone
telefon.
XR, iPhone XS, and iPhone XS Max are all 12 megapixel
Eller egentligen så
cameras
får
with the
du inte
same
en-
wide lens. But the iPhone XS and
Fast
XS
du kommer
Max
ändå inte
also
ha
get a
råd.
telephoto lens for portrait mode and zoom photos. The iPhone XR gets the same A12 processor as the XS and XS Max, so photos from the
den är
wide-angle
skillnad.
lens are going to be basically identical. As
Du samlar till en annan, typ en iPhone 8.
Mhm.
Kolla,
Så
kolla
iPhone
5%.
XR har bättre bilder. Eller iPhone XR har bättre kamera än XS Max.
you can see here, the quality on the XR is up to par with the XS Max, with exceptional detail and dynamic range. The XS
Nu
only
går in på lite för mycket osäkra detaljer.
gets ahead when you switch to the telephoto lens and zoom in. At 2x zoom, there's already a noticeable difference in detail and quality. Because the XR lacks a telephoto lens, it can only zoom in 5 times compared to 10 times on the
Vi går ut och kör Skype och då kan vi prata.
XS Max while getting similar levels of detail. This may not be a big deal for some people, but there are many use cases where getting some extra zoom can really help. While shooting video, the XR only gets 3 times zoom compared to 6 times on the
Nej. Stäng den. Ja, jag hade tänkt att få pengar.
Så Coca-Cola har släppt en energidryck och de hör av sig till mig och frågar ifall jag vill göra samma.
Max. If you look carefully, it also has slightly thicker bezels around its frame. Both phones are water resistant, however the XS has a higher IP68 grade water resistance, while they are also identical in security. Manage with one hand for many things, but do require your second hand for maximum usability.
Kan du bara byta till någon?
But let's actually move on and talk about the display, a very important category display.
Okay.
But a lower 1792 by 828 resolution, and for now let's move on and tackle digital zoom. And trust me, most consumers don't care. Approximately equal battery life. This is mostly because the XR has a lower screen resolution which requires less power to run, while the higher resolution on the XS Max requires more juice.
Bara. Kolla.
Hey everyone, Dan with Mac Rumors, and in this video we're going to compare the cameras on the iPhone XS Max and put it up against the cameras on the brand new iPhone XR. iPhone XR and XS Max share a lot of software magic. The XR has almost the same feature set as the XS Max, and the images look pretty similar for the most part. The iPhone XR's camera still features Smart HDR, portrait mode, and depth control, but there are a few differences between the two phones. So if we start off with portrait mode, the first bummer about the iPhone XR is the fact that portrait mode really only works with people and not objects. The XS can take portrait photos of a multiple camera system to use to calculate the depth between the background and the foreground for blurring purposes. Apple uses a person's face to determine what to blur and what to keep sharp. So that means there's no rear-facing iPhone XR portrait mode images of pets, flowers, food, etc. You'll also get fewer portrait lighting options too. The flip side of this, however, is that because the XR is forced to use the single and larger f1.8 lens instead of the f2.4 telephoto lens, the XR's portrait mode photos will often be a bit better in lower light scenarios because the larger sensor will let in more light. For example, in this picture, you can clearly see the background of this photo on the XR is much brighter compared to the iPhone XS. You can see this if you focus in on the bricks and the TV stand behind the subjects. If you're someone who takes a lot of portrait mode photos, especially of objects or animals, then the XR might not work out for you. The good news is, however, if that is a little bit more than the other, but that's not always the case for each phone, and again, this is also just hit or miss. One quick side note, I do want to point out the iPhone XR does lose out on optical 2x